The forest was unusually quiet, the kind of silence that presses on the skin and turns every movement into a whisper. The sun had dipped behind the tree line, leaving only streaks of fading orange scattered across the sky. In that haunting glow, a small figure moved through the shadows barefoot, trembling, clutching her arms tightly against her chest. Her name was Lily, a 7-year-old girl with tangled brown hair and fear written across her face. She wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't supposed to be alone. But she had escaped into the woods because it was the only place she could think of, the only direction she could run when everything in her world had suddenly fallen apart. Her heart raced like it was trying to break free from her chest, but she remembered something her father, who had been a police volunteer, had once taught her. If you're ever in danger and you see a police dog, there's a silent signal they understand. A simple gesture, a silent plea for rescue. She wiped her tears with the back of her arm and tried to be brave as she stepped deeper into the woods, hoping desperately that someone would find her before the darkness swallowed her completely. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping others, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly supports stories like this to reach more hearts. The world around Lily shifted as the forest grew thicker. Branches clawing at her clothes, leaves sticking to her damp skin. Her small legs burned from running, and her throat felt tight from crying. She tried to sit behind a fallen log to catch her breath, hugging her knees tightly. Every sound, every crack of a twig, every flutter of wings made her jump. She whispered her father's words again and again, hoping they would bring her courage. The rescue signal, the silent call for help. She had practiced it many times when her father showed her, laughing, playing with a stuffed animal while pretending it was a police dog. But today, that memory hurt. Today, she wasn't playing. She needed saving for real. She didn't know how much time had passed when the faint sound of distant barking drifted through the trees. At first, she thought she was imagining it, but then the bark came again, closer this time, sharp and purposeful. Lily stood up quickly, her heart lifting in hope. She rushed toward the direction of the sound, stumbling over roots and rocks, her small hands pushing aside branches as she ran. The barking grew louder, clearer, and then suddenly she saw him, a large German shepherd, standing at the edge of the clearing, his ears sharp, his body strong, his vest displaying bold letters, K9 unit. His name tag read Ranger. The moment Ranger saw her, his body tensed, not an aggression but an instinct. He recognized fear. He recognized distress. Lily remembered the signal. She lifted her shaking hand to her chest, pressed her palm flat over her heart, then slowly opened it outward toward him just as her father had taught her years ago. The rescue signal, the silent, universal call for help. Ranger froze for half a second, then something extraordinary happened. He lowered his head, stared directly into her frightened eyes, and began walking toward her. Not cautiously, not suspiciously, but with purpose, as if he knew exactly what she needed. Just behind Ranger, Officer Daniel emerged from the trees, sweat streaking his face, scanning the forest like a man desperate to find someone. They had been searching for a missing child for hours. Ever since a frantic neighbor reported seeing Lily run into the woods, no one knew exactly why she ran or what she was escaping from. Only that she was alone and vulnerable. Daniels had fought fear the entire search, praying they weren't too late. When he saw a ranger stop in his tracks and stare toward the clearing, Daniels followed his dog's line of sight, and then saw the tiny figure standing alone. Lily looked like a fragile shadow against the looming forest. Ranger's sudden burst of movement startled Officer Daniels. The dog sprinted toward her, not barking, not hesitating, and when he reached her, something even more shocking happened. Ranger leaned into her, gently nudging her hand with his head, pressing himself close to her as if shielding her from the world. Lily collapsed against him, sobbing silently, clutching his fur as though he were the last safe thing on earth. Daniels reached them seconds later, stunned by what he saw. Lily wasn't acting like a child simply lost in the woods. She was holding Ranger in a way that spoke of fear deeper than distance or confusion. She was holding him like someone who had run from something terrible. Daniels knew better than to ask questions immediately. He slowly wrapped his jacket around her shivering shoulders, lifted her into his arms, and carried her toward the trail where the other officers were searching. Ranger stayed pressed to his side the entire walk, his eyes scanning the forest as if he feared whatever Lily fled from might follow. When they reached the patrol cars, medics ran to her, checking her vitals, warming her, giving her water. And while the adults tried to understand what had happened, Ranger refused to leave her side. He sat so close that Lily kept one hand buried in his fur, even as she was loaded into the ambulance. Over the next hours, the truth began to emerge. Lily had run because her mother collapsed at home from a sudden medical emergency. Panicked and unable to wake her, Lily tried calling for help, but the phone slipped from her hands and shattered. She bolted outside, hoping to find anyone. But her fear and confusion led her into the woods instead of toward the road. She knew she needed help. She knew she had to try something, and that's when she remembered the rescue signal her father had taught her before he passed away. A father's greatest gift turned into the key to her survival. At the hospital, doctors treated Lily's mother and stabilized her. Officers stayed with Lily, comforting her, making sure she wasn't alone. But through it all, Ranger stayed with her like a guardian angel on four legs, his steady gaze keeping her grounded. That night, even the hardened officers whispered about it, how a little girl barely old enough to write a full sentence remembered a specialized rescue signal that only trained police dogs respond to. How Ranger responded instantly, as if the universe itself pulled him toward her. And how Lily's father, though gone, had somehow protected her one last time through the wisdom he left behind. Days passed, and Lily's mother recovered enough to return home. Lily refused to let Daniels and Ranger leave without hugging both of them tightly, her small arms wrapped around Ranger's thick fur, and she whispered something only he could hear. Ranger closed his eyes and leaned into her, as though promising he'd always answer if she ever needed him again. As the officers prepared to leave, Lily's mother asked Daniels if Lily could visit the station someday, especially to see Ranger. Daniels smiled and told her the truth: any day Lily wanted to come, she would be welcomed like family, because that's what she had become the moment Ranger ran to her through the trees. Lily waved as they drove off, Ranger's head poking from the open window, watching her until she disappeared from sight. Ranger's heroism spread far and wide. News channels reported the story of the little girl whose silent signal summoned a police dog from deep in the forest. People shared the tale across the world, inspired by the bond between a child and a dog who understood her cry when no one else could hear it. But to Ranger, none of that mattered. He had done what he was trained to do: protect the vulnerable, answer the silent pleas that humans might miss, and bring lost souls home. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know, and helps stories like this reach people who need a little light in their day. Before you go, comment these words below: heroes come in all shapes and sizes.